Hi, I'm Mary McNamara with the Los Angeles Times, and welcome to our Envelope Enemies Contenders chat. Today we're talking with Jared Harris, who is in the HBO drama Chernobyl, which is going to premiere May 6th, and you guys should all watch it because it is amazing. So, and you're amazing in it.
Thank you.
And I have to tell you, as soon as I started watching, it was like, oh my God, I thought I knew what happened at Chernobyl, and I didn't. I mean, something bad that the Soviets covered up, and then we all freaked out about nuclear power plants. But the level of heroism of the people involved, the level of just the destruction involved. Did you know? I mean, tell me the story of how you came to be attached to Chernobyl.
Well, I got the scripts, the first 4 scripts, and I felt the same way that you do. I thought I knew what the story was, and it's a page turner. It was really, really gripping. It's very, very cleverly told by Craig Mazin, and his structure for the story was really smart. There's many things that strike you about the story. There's the political intrigue level of it, the cover-up by the Soviet, the heroism of the people involved who realize that they're the unlucky ones who are there on this day when someone has to step into this situation, and there's just no way they're going to survive, but someone's got to do it. And that we don't know who they are. So in some way, what Craig wanted to do was to recover some of these names from history, if you like, that they've been forgotten, and give them an appropriate place, and have their sacrifice be remembered. But also then it's the idea that, again, it was part of the successful cover-up, which is that we were really close to an event that was going to decimate most of Europe, but that would also have this tremendous impact, obviously, on the rest of the world. And it's a sort of, I suppose, a cautionary tale as well about how the simple act of withholding the truth from the people who are on the ground at the time, the people who are responsible for looking after the reactor, for cleaning up the event, that act of lying to them has these tremendous consequences which causes a lot of suffering.
And so your role in this is you are the truth teller. I mean, you are the scientist who comes in.
Yeah.
And did you know the scientist? Did you know about him? How did you prepare for that?
No, I didn't. And again, that's one of the things that you see as the story unfolds, that there was a determination from the Soviet state to erase him from the story, and they were successful. You can go online and you can see there's some footage of him online. There's actually an interview that his daughter gives, but he's been pretty successfully erased from the story. He was a real person. He was the unlucky person who answers the phone that day, and he's the one who ends up being sent out there. He's like the Cassandra story in the Trojan myth. He's the one who knows how big the problem is, and he's powerful in the sense that he has this information, and he's completely impotent in the sense that no one will listen to him. He's an expert that no one pays attention to. So it's a very frustrating position for that character to be in. And then, of course, the reality of the situation is it's never happened before, and they didn't plan for it. Technically speaking, and this is one of the things that you referred to in your comments about it is actually impossible for a nuclear reactor to blow up. And that's what they had a hard time dealing with, because you can't ignite anything.
Right.
And that's what they had a hard time understanding. But you'll find out in the last episode about how it all happened.
Right.
And it's a sort of it's like a perfect storm of these various elements coming together to create this one particular situation.
Right. And I don't think I will be spoiling it when I say that the series opens with your character committing suicide.
What? What?
Sorry. Am I spoiling?
That was a buddy double.
But it's like, and this is being told through these tapes that he left. Did you listen to the tapes?
No, I tried. I mean, again, it was very hard to track all that stuff down. It is all There was diaries that he left. That this is what he disseminated to the scientific community. But it was really difficult. After a certain point, I realized that it wasn't going to be helpful because Craig he wanted something different out of the character than who the biographical details of this person's life weren't as important as the role that this character plays in the events going forward. So at some point, it became more important to really tell the story that Craig wanted to tell. And it was important to them that they got all the details truthfully, but they had to telescope a lot of the information. And some of the characters are amalgamations of characters, otherwise it would be a 30-hour story, you know.
Where did you shoot?
We shot in Lithuania.
Oh, right. And
then the real nuclear power plant in Ignalina, which actually so the Soviet Union had about 20 of these power plants, and they all have exactly the same design as the Chernobyl power plant, and so they all have the same potential. And when Lithuania applied to join the EU, they said, yeah, sure, but you've got to decommission that because it's exactly the same design.
As Chernobyl.
So they were decommissioning it when we were there. And they would go, oh, there's no nuclear fuel left here, it's all gone. And we go, okay, that's great. And, well, so Thursday we'll be coming in the morning. No, you won't be. Well, what time can we come in? You can come in after 3 o'clock. Why is that? Because we're taking the nuclear fuel out. That's the day we take it out.
The nuclear fuel that
that isn't there.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, so you'll be sitting there and you see these tracks that have come out of the reactor hall building where it's just, they put it on a train and it's a mini train and take it out and you go, well, it went right along here. Is this safe? Has anyone got a little Geiger counter?
Yeah, the Geiger counters. Were you worried? I mean, was it like...
I actually teased Adam Nagatis, who was in the Terror, and about it, and I said, I'm gonna get my own iodine pills and I get my own Geiger counter, man, because we're filming in a real nuclear reactor. And it panicked him enough that he said, I don't tell my agent, I don't think I can do this job.
And did he calm down?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and take his iodine pills?
Yeah. No, it wasn't that serious.
Did you guys go visit the actual Chernobyl at all?
I didn't. No way. I mean, I saw that Anthony Bourdain episode. Did you see it?
The what?
Anthony Bourdain goes there.
Yeah.
No, they go there and they wander off into the exclusion zone area, and they start chatting and they realize, we should turn on this Geiger counter, and it goes crazy.
Oh my God.
And they'd wander off, and it's still highly radioactive. That place.
But it's like a tourist destination now.
You can be taken in, you sign waivers, it's at your own risk. And there are parts of that place where when they were taking all the firemen's clothes and dumping it in the bottom of the building, that is one of the most radioactive places left on this planet. It is. You can't walk down there. It'll kill you if you walk down into that room. But when we were in the Ukraine, they'd say don't drink milk.
Don't drink milk.
Yeah,
don't
water. Eat mushrooms. There's still an issue with the radioactivity there.
Just drink vodka.
Just drink vodka.
Because you were saying.
Well, we were talking about this before. So one of the lies that the Soviets told their people was vodka. It inures you from radioactive poisoning. So the more vodka you drink, the more defense you will have against radiation.
And the more likely you will be to do the things that we tell you to do.
Sure, yeah.
Your character, as many of the characters, but your character has a better understanding from the beginning of what it means. So how do you, that's something that I thought you really, like there was a grimness and there was a frustration, but there was also like a surrender it was like, this guy knew.
I think that was an interesting question because you're trying to track that thought process as you're going through those early scenes, which is because we all have magical thinking. So we all think of, well, the plane will crash, but I'll walk out. When you're getting on, I'll be the only one who survives. We all have that defense mechanism in us. So where is the point at which that character realizes, oh, I'm screwed? And and he's keeping track of how long can I be here before I pass the point where, okay, it's not going to work out for me. And that's when he knows he can't leave. because when he realizes that he's going to be stuck fixing this problem and how long that's going to take, he won't be allowed to leave. He then immediately knows, oh, I'm done. And he also knows, because he's talking to Chernobyl, that you're done as well, because they're not going to let you leave until this is fixed, and it's going to take months.
And that relationship is very interesting. I mean, again, having just seen the first 3, where it goes from being quite antagonistic to being like almost soldiers together.
The relationship. It's the significant relationship that Legasov forms in our story. In real life, he was married and he had children, but in our story, he's a loner, and he's he lives with his cat. He's a sort of person who's fairly emotionally stunted. He doesn't interact well with people in that sense, and he manages to form this relationship out of necessity with Chernobyl, with Stellan's character. And that's the emotional journey that he has with him and with Emily's character. Although I think his relationship with Emily's character is a little difficult, because she's still forcing him to do things that you'll see later that he doesn't want to do. She becomes the sort of truth teller of the piece.
Well, she's trying to find out what happened, so that they
what
can
happened,
prevent.
why it happened,
Your
how
scientist
it happened.
is trying to, like, let's make sure that it doesn't
Let's
poison
stop this,
all of Europe.
Yeah,
And,
it's fairly important. Yeah, just to think
well,
of,
I mean, I was like sort of astonished.
I like Europe, you know what I mean? We can keep
Well,
it the way
no,
it
I was-
is.
First of all, I didn't know. It's like you were saying that, you know, that you had to prevent it, you know, this terrible event. It was like, but you had to do it in 3 different stages. It's like, first we have to get the fire out, and then we have to make sure that it doesn't explode, and then we have to make sure that it doesn't melt. And it's like, it really like was kind of, again, I had no idea. Do you feel, I mean, you have played a lot of real people, historical people. In fact, I made a list because it is quite impressive. So you have played, let's see, Henry VIII, Andy Warhol, John Lennon, Ulysses S. Grant, King George, Crozier, and now this guy. And it's like, I have to say. Al Alvarez.
In Sylvia, he's the poet.
Right.
Yeah.
Shoot, I left one off. But I mean, I have to say, you are possibly the only living actor who has played Henry VIII and Andy Warhol. I feel fairly safe in saying that.
Yeah.
And
take that.
Why do you keep doing this?
I've got an English accent.
You what?
I've got an English accent.
Yeah, well, that's not. I mean, that's not who you go to for Andy Warhol.
Sure. I auditioned for that. I read the script. It was really good. I went and met Mary, and she was a first-time director, and I just wanted to know that I was going to be in good hands, and she didn't know anything about me, so she wanted to check me out, and I said, I'll come in, I'll audition for you, but don't ask me to come in 3 days' time. I want 2 weeks, because then you'll have a really good idea of how close I can get to it. And I pulled a stunt in the audition, which was, I knew that Warhol he wanted things always to be on his terms, and he didn't like being the focus of attention unless he had set it up that way, and he wouldn't like the situation of an audition. So I borrowed somebody's video camera, and I made a film of them auditioning me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And to put the focus back on them and make them feel uncomfortable.
That's a really good idea.
And I went in character, the whole thing, and I don't think that was the reason why that she cast me. But yeah, you know, it was a character part. And again, it has its benefits, because obviously it got me a lot of initial attention, but then for the next 18 months, I was just offered either playing Andy Warhol and or
there's like a sub.
Yeah, like in Studio 52 movie, they came and said, like, do you have your own wig? Come and do it. I was like, I'm not an impersonator. Or
can you do My Son's Bar Mitzvah?
Yeah, or other artists. I mean, there was a Robert Mapplethorpe thing or something like that.
You did John Lennon.
Well, I mean, fine artists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, do you feel a difference, or is it just a character? Do you feel a responsibility when you're doing a real person to, I don't know, to like...
What's the difference between playing a fictional character and a historical character?
Much better question.
There's an immediate shorthand that's available to you. You can find out what they look like, what they sounded like, what they thought about, so you can get inside their head very quickly. And there's a certain sort of standard that you can aim for, that you can get close enough to it that people go, oh yeah, and you tick that box, but without it looking like impersonation or, you don't want to get so close that you completely disappear, because I think that's distracting as well. When people, you see that now, people wear all this rubber on their face, so you can't see the actor inside all this rubber. I find that to be very distracting as well. You want to see, it's a sort of mix of the two is where you want to get to. On the other hand, people have really strong feelings, opinions about who those people are. And so you can run into that. So for example, on the John Lennon thing, people have kind of canonized Lennon, and they see this man who spoke up for peace, who campaigned for peace, and they didn't like the fact that he was an angry person and he was not happy. And he could be really nasty, and he was particularly mean to fans, who came and tried to talk to him out in public. And so the story dealt with that aspect of his life. He'd become a recluse. So he really didn't like the fact that we were not showing him as being this kind of a saint. Essentially. Yeah. So it's mix and match in terms of you have tools available to you. You're always playing the writer's version of the character. That writer's done all the research, and they have decided, I need this part of this person's story, and I'm going to ignore the rest of it to tell my story. So you're not doing the biographical version of it. You're doing the writer's version of that character.
When you were in The Crown, in the first season of The Crown, I mean, that was a performance that many people, I mean, including me, found remarkable. But also, I thought it was a really rich, as a father, portraying him as a father and portraying him as like, somebody also who was being told that he was dying. How was it, did you feel any, as
I felt
a
pressure.
British, as a member of the populace?
I mean, where we shot at Elstree, and literally I would walk out of my trailer and they had shot the King's Speech there. And there was a 60-foot poster on the side of this building of Colin Firth in the King's Speech every day that I would walk out of my trailer, and there he was, and to go to set. And initially I thought, well, they could have taken that down. That's a little insensitive. And then I started looking at it and went, you know what, he doesn't look anything like George either, and that didn't hurt him. So it became like a useful positive to me. In comparison to what that story was about, this was about father. It wasn't about someone overcoming a personal defect, trying to find his place. He already, by the time we get to our story, he is successfully become king, and so that's not really what his concern was. His concern was as a parent, and then the realization that he isn't going to be around to protect his children, and he needs to find somebody who will do that job for him. So then it really was actually about that. And for me, the best research that I stumbled over, because you read all these biographies and they're really dry. He met this person on that day. There was the governess who brought the two daughters up, the two princesses, wrote a book about it. And she describes what their life was like. And the thing that was the most insightful thing for me was that every day that they were together under the same roof, George, Elizabeth, the mother, and the two daughters, the first hour of every day was spent in the parents' bedroom with them having family time together. And then they go off to become these other things. But it was about holding that family unity together. And
then, obviously, many people, came to know and love you on Mad Men, where you also hanged yourself. Is that like a thing? I mean,
I hope not.
Am I gonna have to hang myself again? You do play characters who have untimely deaths.
I know.
I was like, when I was looking through I'm thinking, what would it be like if you and Sean Bean made a show?
I don't know.
You'd be like, who's gonna die first? I don't know.
Who's gonna last the longest?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
if we're trying to push each other off the edge of the
There's like
the
a
gangplank.
tragedy to you,
or something. I don't know what it is.
Long for this world. Enjoy me.
I don't know who's gone the most. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy, because then people also go, oh, he's going to die. You don't want that.
Right. It's Jared Harris.
Yeah,
so
exactly. He's not long for this story. I don't want that. I mean, on Mad Men, when Matt told me that's what was going to happen, because I had no idea, he told me at the read-through for episode 10, and I go in episode 12, so he left it late. I was disappointed, but I knew immediately from a career point of view and a story point of view, that was going to be the talking point of that season. And it had to pay off that way. So it was going to be good from that, but I was gone. I wasn't going to, it was the best working environment that I'd ever been on.
Was
you
it?
know? Yeah, it was fantastic. So you were saying goodbye to that. So it was bittersweet. Sometimes you're glad that they kill you off, because it's not the best environment.
Just
Like, can I
start
die
talking
earlier?
yourself, like, I'm not feeling very well.
Yeah, maybe you could go a bit earlier than it'd be really good at page 5.
Do you have a favorite character that you've played so far?
Always my next one.
Okay, now we have some lightning round questions. Are you? What?
Go ahead.
No, no.
Yeah.
Was there anything?
I was just going to give a little nod towards the Terror. I love that character.
Oh yes, well
Francis
that was an
Crozier.
amazing
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
which is I don't think available on any streaming, but you can get it. You can get the DVDs.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a weird thing, because when we were actually shooting this in Lithuania, everybody was coming up to me about that, because it was available in Lithuania somehow on Amazon. But in England, no one's seen it. It's kind of bizarre. But I love that character and I love that story. It was one of the best things I've ever done. I'd rank it up there alongside of The Crown and this.
And it was beautiful and moody and true and no, that was a really good, wonderful show. But you didn't. I remember asking the
David
creator
Kucinich?
because the snow looked so real.
Yeah.
But it was not. It was not real.
We were shot in a soundstage in Budapest. It was freezing, but yeah. It was actually tough
very
because
cold styrofoam.
it was styrofoam, and they put these cleats on your feet so that you wouldn't slide, but you would stick. So you'd start running, and then your foot would stick, and you'd go flat on your face. On the snow, they had 3 different types of snow, but one of them was soap suds. And you'd be doing this really intense scene, and you're saying goodbye to someone, and then this giant soap sud would land on your nose. You're like, all right.
I do wonder about that when you see like the fake snow, and sometimes like it'll like be hanging in an eyelash, and you're like, oh, that must be fun. Like, am I just supposed to ignore this?
Yes, because you're on those sorts of things. You're begging for a 3rd take or 4th take. So if you can just get through one once, if you keep stopping, the first time you get one successful take, they're going to move on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you once you feel like it's probably usable, keep going, because then we got one safety, and now we can try and play with it.
Right, play with it a little bit. All right, here's our lightning round questions. What performer on TV today totally blows you away?
Let's see. I love Henry Winkler on Barry, Bill Hader on Barry. Who else? I'm sort of kind of addicted to RuPaul at the moment as well.
Many people are.
He's a performer. He's not inhabiting a character, but I think he should host the Oscars. What I love about him is he's unflappable. And he's always so direct in the way that he talks to people and he reads people, and he gives them what they need to get past whatever they're stuck on and succeed. He's amazing. Yeah.
Okay, RuPaul for the Oscars.
Yeah.
What was the last show you binged?
I binged. The last one I binged would be. I binged Barry. I binged Glow. I binged Miss Maisel.
A lot.
Yeah.
What classic TV show would you have loved to be on?
I loved Rome, that movie, the HBO show Rome.
You would have fit right in there.
Fantastic. It really was. I was so sad that they pulled the plug after 2 seasons. Yeah. I've watched that several times.
Okay, and then the most important question of all is who is going to win Game of Thrones?
I keep going around in circles over it. I was starting to think, I wonder if something's really sick. It's like Cersei's pregnant with a child, and this is all about cyclical things, and would they really break the wheel and end the cycle? Because the whole thing about this is they seem like they've defeated the Night King, but actually the Night King has already been in the situation before and then had to retreat. So it's going to be the cycle. So there'll be a new Night King. And what if Cersei's baby becomes the new Night King? And that then because then it'll
You are down the rabbit hole.
re-kick this whole cycle again because it's going to come back in 1,000 years, you know, because it's a wheel, you know.
Right.
But I'm worried. Poor old Jon Snow. It's not going to be a happy ending for him. I don't think
He's dead already, you know.
Yeah, but I don't think he ends up. I got the feeling that it's like you have the flames for the unknown soldier and various. I feel like it's some sort of destiny like that we don't know. At the end, he makes some giant sacrifice to save everyone, and history doesn't record it, but we know what it is, and somebody else gets on the throne. I don't even think it's going to be good for Daenerys either, actually. I don't think that she ends up on it. It'll be someone... I mean, the dark version of it is it's Cersei. And his politics are really dark about human nature. So it could be someone that we're not going to be happy with. Okay. But I don't feel as though it's within his writing to say that if it's someone who justifiably fits that position, they don't do it in a way that it's like the end of a Shakespeare comedy where everyone gets married at the end and it's all rosy.
Yeah,
it's going to be bittersweet, you know.
Yes.
There's good arguments to be made for everyone, and I'm not really answering your question at all.
No, that's fine. And I do think that as somebody who
But
has died an untimely death, to say to Jon and Daenerys, you're not going to make it.
We've seen that vision where she sees the hall, all the roof blown out, and it's covered in snow.
Right.
In that vision that she has when she's with the warlocks. He has a dragon now. He can fly all the way down there and torch the city, you know? Who knows?
I see you're a fan, though.
Yeah.
The level of
yeah,
commentary.
I've, deep dive into it. I was really disappointed in how they got rid of Littlefinger because he's the Richard III character.
Right.
And I just can't believe that Martin would do that with that character. I mean, I always thought that, like Richard III, that he would actually end up on the throne very briefly, like Richard III, as the bad guy gets to sit on the throne finally, but then gets swept from power by the final act. But they got rid of him. That would have been what I would have thought my ending would be. Littlefinger would have acquired the throne for about 3 weeks, and then
swept away.
By whatever the eventual successor was. I'm not sure, but it can't happen now. No. But Arya has his face.
That's true.
So I would expect that she will wear that face and go south to King's Landing at some point and appear
a really good idea.
As Littlefinger.
You need to come and watch the finale with us.
I'll be in London, but okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll talk more about Game of Thrones.
Okay.
If you want to watch any more of our Emmy Contender Chat series, please visit us on LATimes.com. Thanks.